Tune into the Salsa Kings Network. Crack one open if you dare, creeps.
That bastard was up to something, I know it. If I could just get my hands on him. Earlier this week.
I thought you liked him.
I sometimes like things that are not good for me. Besides, no way, no how does Buffy put the big hurt on an innocent man. Nice Uncle Ted was dirty.
We've got to prove that somehow. Xander, do you have a pen?
If Buffy has to go to jail because of that creep, I'm gonna lose it. He's gotta be in there, Will. A history of domestic violence, a criminal record. Ooh, cookies.
I don't get it. Buffy's a slayer. Shouldn't she have...
What, a license to kill?
Well, not for fun, but she's like the Superman. Shouldn't there be different rules for her?
Sure, in a fascist society.
Right. Why can't we have one of those?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Boys Watching Buffy. We're just two boys watching every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and reviewing it, giving our thoughts and reaction. We are your hosts. I'm Joe Welke.
I am Vance.
And today we're talking about Season 2, Episode 11, Ted. Just Ted.
Simple title.
Directed by Bruce Seth Green, written by David Greenwalt and Joss Whedon. The original air date was December 8th, 1997, to an audience of 6.09 million people. I think this is the biggest audience that this show's gotten.
Yeah, it's got a big guest star in it.
Oh, yeah, it does. We got a big old guest star.
Yeah, we do.
It also made me, like, kind of fond for a time. So John Ritter's in this episode. John Ritter is Ted. And
known for Three's Company, which is...
Yeah, 8 Simple Rules.
8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. Was that the whole title?
Yeah.
Wasn't Jennifer Lawrence in that show? I think that was one... I think that was a show that she was in, wasn't she?
No, it was Kaylee Cuoco was in it.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. But that's what I remember him from, because, you know, that was a sitcom that was on when I was young. But yeah, and then he died. Mm-hmm. But like this episode made me like, oh man, I miss John Ritter. Like he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's also in like one of those Chucky Child's Play movies too, as like a bumbling guard, and he gets murdered in that. But this one, he's also in a movie I watched when I was really young called Stay Tuned, where he's trapped in like a TV show and like they're running through television channels, him and his wife or something, which is, I don't remember it. I don't know if it's good, but I just remember the concept being interesting.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun concept.
Yeah. It definitely in that time period too of like flipping through channels, like that kind of, yeah.
But all right, Vance. So shall we get into the episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we open up with Buffy and Xander and Willow arguing about Captain and Tennille, talking about how things are pretty quiet around town because, you know, Spike and Drusilla are at least gone.
So they think.
Yeah, I mean, even they are casting doubt of like, well, at least they're gone. We don't know if they're dead, but they're gone.
We know they fell over when you hit them in the head. We could have... The fire wasn't that crazy. We could have tried to see if we could dig them out and stab them in the chest, but no.
Yeah, no.
You know, vampires always die when they got trapped underground in a bunker once. Like,
yeah,
they're fine.
They're gonna be fine.
They're fine.
Yeah, but they're talking about how things are quiet and, you know, things are getting boring, and Buffy's enjoying it. She's zoning out because she likes it when things are quiet. She doesn't want to have to be out killing vampires. And then Xander's like, well, I think I may have totally jinxed us by saying that, though.
Yeah. I'm happy they called that out because they did it once before.
Yeah. And so they walk Buffy to her home and her door is unlocked. So immediate suspicion is raised. She hears a glass break. She hears her mom scream no. And then Buffy runs into the kitchen to see her mom smooching on a dude named Ted, who's John Ritter.
Just hearing you describe that, what is the What is the order of events that could cause you to break a glass, say, oh no, and then immediately start making out?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
Like there was only like a half a second between her screaming, oh no, and then Buffy busting in, it seemed like.
It's like they wanted their cake and eat it too. They wanted to have the like, oh, something dangerous happened. Oh, my mom's making out with some dude.
Yeah.
It's no way it went from, oh, should we clean up the glass? Get over here.
Yeah. So Buffy comes in, she's like, what the hell is this? Who is this? And your mom's like, it's Ted. We broke a wine glass. Sorry, we didn't want you to find out like this. And it's awkward as hell. So then Buffy's mom explains after the music intro, of course. Buffy's mom is...
I love that you always call out the intro.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So Buffy's mom explains how she and Ted met. Ted's wowing Willow and Xander with his like mini pizza cooking capabilities.
Those... He mentions that he like cooks them and then fries them in the cast iron pan. Those things sounded like bricks when he was putting them on the plate.
Yeah, and they did not look appetizing at all.
They sounded so hard.
Well, I didn't know what they were at first because I was looking at them like, is this some kind of pastry? And then Xander's like, this is a great pizza. Yeah. And I was like, it looks like a cookie. Looks like a Danish or something. Like what?
They're supposed to be mini pizzas, but I don't know if that's the sound they should make when they hit a plate.
Yeah. I mean, but Xander loves these things. He tells Ted, he's like, you got like $1 million idea right here. You need to make a company of this.
We find out why he loves these things so much.
Oh, yeah. But the whole time that Ted's winning everybody over, Buffy's really skeptical. And she and her mom are like, Ted and her mom are like, we want you to be okay with this. And she's like, I don't know. I'll be okay. I'm doing fine. And then smash cut to her just like wailing on a vampire.
Well, before that,
taking out all her frustrations.
There's a line where she like talks her mom off to the side. And she's like, oh, I didn't want you to find her like this. He's like, what, smooching in my kitchen?
Yeah, she takes a lot of ownership over this house.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, your kitchen? That seemed a little presumptuous. Like, I don't know. It's like, what teen says, oh, mom, you're making out in my kitchen? Like,
yeah.
What?
This is my kitchen. This is my house.
Yeah.
You play by my rules.
Yeah, I was like,
lots of people in this episode taking ownership over this house that don't own the house.
The mom does not put down a firm hand. You know? No, she does not. Yeah. But there might be a reason for that. But I think even without what we find out later, she still would be this way.
Yeah. So, yeah, then we cut to Buffy just like demolishing a vampire, and Giles is standing in the background kind of like, okay, I think you can hit it with the stake now. And Buffy's just wailing on it.
Yeah.
Buffy and Giles is like, okay, it's time for the stake. And then Buffy eventually kills him. And then Giles is like, hey, what's going on? You all right? And then Buffy's like, I just hate vampires. They always come into town and they come into your house and then they fuck your mom. And
it's like, the subtext is now becoming text.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just kind of like, you sure you don't want to talk about it? She's like, no, yeah, I'm fine. I just hope there's more vampires out here for me to kick ass. And like, Giles should be stoked about this.
Yeah, but he knows like she's going through something. He's sitting there with that duffel bag on his lap. And I'm like, why are you there? Like, why are you even here? Just to hand her weapons in case?
Yeah. Just give her a water bottle.
And I was wondering why the vampire is even still fighting. If I'm getting
run away.
I'm running.
Yeah, like we've seen the vampires run away.
Yeah, this one's just like, all right, I'm just getting wailed on. like at a certain point, he should jump on the stake and be like, end this.
Yeah, he's just like, this can't be that as bad as what's going on right now. This is torture. Because she is just kicking this vampire's ass, dude.
Yeah.
But then Giles talks to her and he's concerned. And then the next day at school, Xander and Willow are talking to Buffy about how awesome Ted is, and they think that she should warm up to him. And they don't get why she doesn't like Ted. And they're like, I think Ted's really awesome. And Buffy's like, well, at least I don't really have to see him all the time or something. And then Ted's at school.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes up right from behind Buffy while she's talking shit about him. And he's like, hey, I came here to upgrade all of the computers because I'm a software salesman. And I think it'd be great if all of you guys would come play mini golf with me this weekend. And Buffy's like, no, we've got a thing this weekend. And Willow's covering for her. And she's like, oh, yeah, we got a thing. And then Xander's like, fuck that thing. I want to play mini golf.
Yeah, once he says, oh, I'm going to bring mini pizzas and cupcakes and cookies.
Yeah.
And Xander's like, that's all it takes for me. I'm hooked.
Yeah. He's like, we've done that thing every weekend. That thing can wait. I want to play mini golf.
I love that they just keep calling it that thing.
Yeah.
And actually, mini golf would be friggin' a break from all their what they normally do, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at this point, they think Ted's a decent guy. He's giving software to Willow that she couldn't afford for free. So, yeah, he's winning him over.
Yeah, he seems like a good guy, and he does speak very oddly.
Yeah, he speaks odd, and he has a little creepy vibe to him. At this point, what did you think was happening?
I mean, obviously, I knew something was up, but I didn't know what was up exactly. But I noticed that he was talking so weirdly. Just the way that he talked, the cadence, and the level, like the tone of voice, was always consistently loud. And I was just like, this isn't something's up with Ted.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what. I didn't know what was up with Ted until the reveal, pretty much.
I had a feeling somewhere like late middle about something because they lean heavy on something when she goes to the job. But I heard it and I was like, okay. And then other stuff happens that completely changed my mind. So I was like, then I was really excited about where it was going. So yeah.
And I wrote down what you were talking about after the fact.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, yeah. But anyway, so Giles then goes to see Ms. Calendar, and it's still kind of awkward. And he's like, how did you get your books? And she's kind of like, this is the lamest excuse to come and see me. I need space and time. And then Giles is like, okay, I'm sorry. And then walks away.
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially the scene. He's going in. She's still not over it. It's about her. She can't. She
still needs space. And
she goes
not
a little
giving
hard.
her space.
She goes a little hard on Giles. Giles is puppy dog in it, and she can't take it. She doesn't want his pity. Yeah.
This is just kind of like a reintroduction of Miss Calendar and their romance. Not really much going on too much in this scene.
Yeah.
So then we go to Buffy. And she's at Angel's place, and she's nursing him back to health after his kinky ass holy water torture.
For me, I felt like this was like we missed a scene or something because she's taping up his hand. Oh, I guess she's taping up his hand because it got stabbed. Okay,
yeah, got stabbed in the last episode.
I forgot about the stabbing in his hand.
Yeah, so did I, to be honest. Until I was like, "What did it?" Oh, right.
Because I was just thinking about like the holy water in his chest, but I was like, "Why is she taping his hand?" But yeah.
So she's nursing him back to health, and then she's ranting about Ted and about, I can't stand this guy. It's all my mom ever talks about is Ted with his cookies and his pizza. And then Angel is like, are you ever going to stop talking about Ted?
Angel, get used to it, man. You're dating a teenage girl. What are you? Yeah.
And she's like, all right, I'm sorry. And he's like, well, is there somebody that you would want your mom to date? Because your mom seems happy with Ted. And Buffy's like, I want her to date my dad again.
Yeah.
And Angel's like, I don't think that's going to happen. But you know what? Why don't you give me a goddamn smooch?
She's like, something I want to do.
Finally. Yeah. So then we cut to the gang, and they're at the mini golf course. I think it's Sherman Oaks Castle Park, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It looked vaguely like it.
Yeah, I was trying to
figure
out.
There?
I haven't been to Sherman Oaks Castle Park. I've been to one I went mini golfing in the before times. I forget where exactly, but I was looking at it and it wasn't like that. That might be Sherman Park. Yeah, Sherman Oaks.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is Sherman Oaks, Castle Park, because all the holes are Castle Park. Dude, that place has this amazing arcade game where you go into like this big kind of room and they shoot lasers all over the place, and you have to kind of dodge the lasers and touch all these buttons like you're cracking a safe.
Nice.
That game is so sick. And did I fail miserably at it? Yes. Do I still think it's sick? Yes. So yeah, the gang's all playing mini golf, and the mom lets it slip, or Buffy, somebody lets it slip that Buffy
Willow
has bad grades or something.
Willow, she's like, oh, you're not doing something with, oh, are you dating anybody? She's like, no. We call her, and somehow Willow like spins it off into like Buffy the bookworm
nerd,
the bookworm, Buffy the bookworm. We call her or something. She's like, oh, your grades are going better. And
then Ted was like, well, hopefully that's the thing because I heard about your bad grades. Yeah. And then Buffy's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And her mom's like, sorry, I let it slip that you're dumb.
Yeah, I told him about your grades. He wants to know everything about you. It's like, all right, that got a little creepy.
Right?
Yeah, that part got creepy.
And then so Buffy goes up to shoot the mini golf and she just whacks it. Like, has she never played? She just smacks it all the way off of the course.
Sometimes the Slayer strength just like comes out,
I guess she's pissed about Ted knowing about her bad grades or whatever.
Yeah.
But so she goes to get her ball and Ted's like, well, we gotta play by the rules, and that's a scratch, and you're gonna have to shoot it from the rough. And Buffy's like, all right, fine, I'll shoot it from the rough.
Yeah, what makes this more troubling is that the mom is like, oh, we won't count it. And then then Ted is like, no, we have to set boundaries and set rules and play by the rules. And what we instill in her is how she's gonna be. Like, and it's like he's in between a mom and Buffy when he's saying this, and then Buffy's like, what are you're letting him say this? And then the mom's just like completely acquiesces and says, well, he does have a point, Buffy. And you're like, ugh, this is gross.
Yeah, the mom's kind of taking it. Like,
yeah. This isn't,
So Buffy goes to retrieve her ball and shoot it, quote unquote, from the rough. She picks it up and just drops it in the hole. And she's like, hey, I got it. Hole in two. And then Ted's standing there leering at her. And he's like, oh, really? You really got it? You're a cheater. You didn't follow the rules. This is so symptomatic of everything that's wrong with you. And Buffy's like, dude, it's just a game. Mm-hmm. Like, it's fine. It's just mini golf. I'll put it back. And he's like, no, you need to follow the rules or I'm going to slap your smart ass mouth. And I was like, what the hell?
I was like, this is amazing. Like, that is so intense. And he does a great job. John Ritter does a great job of playing like a bad guy in this.
Yeah,
he's known for being just like the jovial, happy, but like, yeah, he was enjoying the hell out of playing this role.
Well, it's also awesome because he has that such like a goody two shoes.
Mm-hmm.
We got to follow the rules, and then he just flips a switch and he's, I'll slap your smart ass mouth.
Yeah,
and then everybody comes up behind him and they're like, hey, what's going on, Buffy? And he's like, oh, we just had a little bit of a misunderstanding about the rules, but Buffy gets it now. And Buffy's looking like, cookies? What the heck? Yeah, Buffy's like, what the hell's happening here?
Yeah. It's like when like Law and Order will cast like Fred Savage to be like a rapist or something on some episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wrote down that John Ritter is a WB Frog in it. Like he's a complete asshole to Buffy, but then when everybody else is around, he's not. He's a swell guy.
Yeah, like too overly enthusiastic.
Yeah, and that's what's creepy about it. People that are overly enthusiastic about stuff and overly nice.
Yeah,
I don't trust them.
Yeah, and a rule stickler too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the next day, Buffy and her mom are fighting about Ted, and her mom is like, look, I don't expect you to love him like I do, but you're going to have to get used to him. And then Buffy's like, wait, are you in love with Ted? And then her mom's like, I didn't mean for it to come out like that, but I guess I am in love with him. And then Buffy's like, well, that's funny because he threatened to slap me in my mouth. And her mom's like, no way, Ted, are you kidding me?
And the mom's already like never believes Buffy and thinks Buffy's a bad seed to begin with. Like,
yeah.
All the time. One of the weird things, or like just troubling, like, or not troubling, it just lets you know the mom's mental state. She's like, well, you know how hard it is for a single mom to find a date. And like Buffy almost finishes that sentence for her. And I'm like,
yeah,
that's one thing to be like, it's hard to find a person because you know, it's tricky to date when you're got a teenage daughter and find someone. But that doesn't mean that you just automatically love the person that you're dating because of that. Like, it's not a one-to-one.
Well, also, like, Buffy's mom is a good-looking lady.
Yeah,
like,
she's a good-looking lady, but she's traveling all the time. She's always importing and exporting art.
That's true.
You know, it's just she's so busy with business.
Yeah.
And her daughter's always, like, just causing trouble.
Her daughter is potentially the worst student in her school, according to the principal. Yeah. But yeah, the mom doesn't believe Buffy. And then, so the next day at school, Buffy's talking to Willow and she's like, I want you to dig up stuff on Ted.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, let's get it.
Yeah. And Willow is kind of like, what? Why? And Xander's like, dude, that guy's awesome. Why would you want to do that? And she's like, something's up with this guy. I don't like him. Mm-hmm. He's weird. He threatened to slap me. And then Xander is kind of like, nobody that makes pizzas that good is a bad person.
Yeah, like he is hooked. And in the previous scene, the mom's like, hey, we got sticky buns. Ted made him. I'm like, what is this dude doing? Like, he's just cooking all day long?
He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's a machine, Vance.
he's a machine, yeah.
So then Cordelia walks by and Xander goes, hey, Cordelia, nice outfit. And then Cordelia's like, what's that supposed to mean? Don't talk to me, you nerd and weirdo. And she just like storms off. And then Xander's like, I'm going to go talk to her for a second.
Yeah.
So then while he goes off and talks to her, Buffy and Willow have a bonding moment about like, yeah, I don't really trust Ted. And Willow's like, okay, I'll dig into it. Yeah. We'll find out some stuff about Ted. And then we go back to Xander and Cordelia who are walking, and Xander's like, what was that all about? I just complimented your outfit. And Cordelia is like, I don't want anybody to find out that we kissed. And Xander's like, we no one will find out. But like, if you're acting weird, people are going to get suspicious of stuff. And then Cordelia's like, fine, just don't tell any of my friends, and I won't tell any of yours or something. And Xander's like, all right, fine. You want to go make out in a storage closet? And Cordelia's like, all right.
Yeah. I was like, that's awesome. And Xander's like eating one of those cookies from Ted in the scene too.
Oh, yeah, he is. He's hooked on these cookies and pizzas and stuff, man. He loves them. So then Buffy makes it her mission to go spy on Ted. She goes to his job because she knows that he's a computer salesman at some kind of company. He's a software salesman or whatever. So she goes there and she sees his desk and he's making a sale. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go to lunch or whatever. So he leaves his desk. Buffy hides under a desk. So silly.
It's the worst hiding spot ever. Because he goes to the board to like put up his number, a dry erase board to put up, I got another sale. I'm going to lunch. And he just walks off.
And Ted has by far the most sales by a lot.
Yeah.
And he walks by the desk that Buffy's hiding under, of course. So then she pops up and she's looking at the board, and one of Ted's coworkers comes over and she's like, hey, what's up? I'm a temp for today. My name is Linda. And the coworker's like, oh, okay. And she's like, hey, this guy Ted, man, he's a real good salesman, huh? And then the coworker goes, oh yeah, Ted, that guy, he's a machine. He's the best salesman ever. And Buffy's like, okay.
And I kind of hate him and blah, blah, blah. At least he's... And then he drops the bomb that, like, I can't wait for him to go away for the wedding he has planned in 2 months.
Yeah, he's like, he's got a girlfriend. He's going to get married in 2 months. And Buffy's like, what?
I love the moment where he goes, and she's really cluttered up his desk. And you look at his desk and there's nothing on it but one picture frame.
Yeah. So that guy leaves, and Buffy's like, all right, well, let me go look at this picture. Let me look at this desk because this is suspicious. Mm-hmm. So she goes over, and on his desk, he's got a picture of Buffy's mom, but it is the picture that was of Buffy and her mom from their refrigerator from a scene earlier in the episode. And he has folded it and like basically cut Buffy out of the picture. He didn't cut it, but he like folded it so she's not seen. And Buffy's kind of like, what the hell? This guy stole my refrigerator picture of me and my mom. This is kind of bullshit.
Yeah, I didn't make the connection to the refrigerator photo, but yeah, that was the one they pointed out in that opening scene when he says, "I know how important you are to your mom," or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then he folds it, and it's weird. I think it's weird because he cut her out of it, more or less. Yeah. And he didn't just cut it. He definitely just folded it underneath into the frame.
Yeah, why not just cut it?
But yeah, no, it's not to cut it so that you could have that fold out like, ooh, this is a threat to Buffy. Mm-hmm. Like he's saying, I want the mom. I want nothing to do with the girl.
Yeah. So then we have dinner time with Ted. The mom made it a thing to be like, Buffy, I want you to come to dinner because Ted's cooking dinner. I want you to be there. So now we're at dinner and Ted's saying a prayer and he is saying the most passive aggressive prayer, like aimed at Buffy. He's like, I forget what it was, but he was like, dear Lord, thank you for this food and for making people that want to follow rules and want to get better grades in school and aren't such buttholes to me and their mother. Amen.
Yeah.
And then, so Buffy's not eating any of the food. Mm-hmm. And the mom is like, Buffy, you want to eat any of this food? And she's like, no, it looks really good. And then Ted's like, well, it's meant to be eaten, Buffy. So you should eat some of the food. And Buffy's like, I'd rather kill myself.
I forget if she says that there or when they're talking about the marriage. Is it right there with the food?
It's, no. It's later because Buffy kind of confronts her mom and...
Oh, she says, like, are you engaged?
Yeah.
Are you two
engaged? And then her mom is like, well, no. And Ted's like, well, not yet. But if things are going the way that I think that they're going... we're going to definitely get engaged and then we're going to get married and you're going to have to get used to me being around. What do you think about that? And then Buffy goes, I think I'll kill myself.
Yeah, I wrote that down and it's such a teenage rebellious statement, you know?
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't have it in a show necessarily now unless it's like really like a dramedy.
Yeah.
One of those because it's so sensitive of a subject matter. Because we always brought this up in Girls. Girls had so many references to like suicide.
Oh, yeah.
But here when she says it, it's like classic 90s teen. Like, statement. And the mom's like, what? Like, yeah.
Yeah, the mom's like, geez, dude, that's a little harsh.
Yeah.
So then Buffy's like, can I be excused? And the mom's like, you can go to your room. So Buffy's like, all right, fine.
Yeah, when the mom said, yes, you can go to your room, did she think Buffy meant that she was going to leave to go somewhere else? Like,
yeah, there's always something going on at the dude. We haven't been to the Bronze in forever.
I know, in like 3
Oh my God, what happened? Where's the Bronze at?
I know, I felt that.
I was just about to say like, there's always something going on at the Bronze, but then I was like, we haven't been to the Bronze in forever.
Yep.
Oh man. All right. Well, anyway, so Buffy goes to her room and sneaks out and like waiting on a swing set. Like, where's all the vampires? I want to kill something.
Yeah.
So then she sneaks back into her room and Ted is there waiting for her. And he's like, you broke the rules again. your mom said that you could go to your room, not go out gallivanting around town. And then Buffy looks around and all of her vampire slayer stuff is like out and about. And she's like, did you go through my stuff? And Ted's like, yes, I went through your stuff. And I'm reading your diary. And what the hell is a vampire slayer? You're delusional. You're a crazy person. And if you don't start acting right, I'm going to show this stuff to your mother. And then you're going to go to a mental institution. And I was like, Jesus, yeah. Ted.
I was like, Ted is playing with fire, man. He's playing games.
I know he is. Well, he's not playing it.
Well, I mean, when he was sitting, when she climbs in and you see him sitting in the shadow when she climbs down, I was like, oh, this is gonna be good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And where does the mom think he is at this point?
I have no clue.
like,
is the mom asleep? How late did she come back?
I don't know. They weren't dressed like. I don't think the mom was dressed like she was asleep.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
maybe she's just doing all those dishes. Like all those dishes.
Yeah. So Ted's like, well, I'm going to leave now and you're going to start obeying me and following my rules in this house. And Buffy's like, this is my house, dude. And he's like, not anymore. It ain't. It's old Teddy's house and I'm keeping this diary.
Yeah.
And Buffy's like, no, you're not. And he starts to walk out the door and she grabs him and he's like, you better start acting right. And then just whacks her across the face, dude.
I wrote he slapped the shit out of Buffy. I mean, intense.
I mean, Buffy crumpled to the ground.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, what the hell is going on with Ted? Because he just knocked Buffy on their ass, dude. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then Buffy stands up and she goes, ooh, I was hoping you'd do
it. When she said that, I was like, this is a great.
Oh, man. It was so great when she's like, I've been waiting for you to do that. And then she starts punching him. Then he hits her again and like throws her across the room.
Yeah.
And then she gets
got a heavy
up.
hand.
Oh, yeah. And then so her mom hears all of this commotion and she's like, what's going on? And she runs in. And this is where genius Ted stops hitting Buffy. And Buffy is just beating the shit out of Ted. Like down out of her room, down the hallway.
It's so good.
And then she kicks him and he falls down the stairs and he's tumbling down the stairs. And it gets to the bottom and the mom's like, oh my God. Like nobody's screaming.
Yeah.
Like the mom should be screaming. She's just like, once he gets to the bottom, she's just like, oh my God, Ted.
Yeah.
And then she runs down there, checks his pulse, and Ted is dead.
At this moment, I had a thought. And my thought was, is this the best show ever? Like, I mean, I was like, is he really going to be dead? Did she really just kill this dude?
Yeah. I was very like, what the hell is happening?
And it cuts
to
commercial.
Knew because I paused and we're only like, this is a 43-minute
I think
episode.
It was a 21-minute mark.
Yeah, we're like halfway in.
I think I did the same thing. Yeah.
What else could this be? Like, what's going on here?
I was like, are we deeper in? Like, is he really gone? Like,
yeah.
Because I'm down.
Oh, absolutely. Dude, as soon as he hit her and she said, I've been waiting for this, I was like, this is great TV. Yeah. This is on, dude.
Yeah. Like, I had to think, that was my thought process. I was like, did she just kill a dude in her house with Slayer abilities?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we go to cut to commercial there, obviously. And we come back. And he's being zipped up in a Kern. I can't even say it. Kerner's bag.
Yeah, he's dead, dude.
He's in a body bag.
But I also want to point out that Buffy's mom did not see Ted hit her. All that Buffy's mom saw was Buffy wailing on Ted.
Yes.
So that's really important.
Yeah. She should question like why was he in the room, all that stuff.
Yes.
But the mom's not clear headed right now. You know, she's got some stuff going on.
Yeah. She's lonely and other stuff.
Yeah.
So the cops show up. They're zipping up Ted. And they're like, so what happened? They're questioning the mom. And they're like, what happened to Ted? How did he how did he die? And the mom goes, he fell down the stairs. So she's like lying to the cops to cover for Buffy. And then the cop is like, did he just like trip? Like what happened? And then Buffy like coughs up that she's like, I hit him. And he fell down the stairs. So she took like the blame for it, which, you know, that's a pretty mature thing to do. It looked like the mom was trying to give her an out.
She's traumatized right now.
Yeah, Buffy's like, I just killed a dude.
Yeah. And I had brought this up a couple episodes ago, maybe, if like, I wonder, like we were thinking about like a Slayer just accidentally killing a person by mistaking them, thinking that they're a vampire, you know?
Yeah.
Like some dude creeps up on you, you just stab him in the chest with a stake. Like a wooden stake to any heart is going to kill a person. So like they don't need to be a vampire. Yeah. You're just waiting for them to disappear. You're like, dust, turn to dust. But yeah, I was like, this happened. She just killed some dude.
So they take Buffy in for questioning and she's being interrogated and the cop's like, so what's up? What happened here? And then Buffy's like, well, he was in my room and he had my diary and he hit me. And the cop's like, where did he hit you? And Buffy shows him like on the face. And he's like, doesn't look like anybody hit you there. And he must have hit you pretty lightly, you know? And then Buffy's like, well, I don't bruise easily. And he's like, okay. And he's like, is this the first time he hit you? And she's like, well, he threatened me. He's like, yeah, but this is the first time he hit you. And she's like, well, yeah. And then he hit me again. But then I was defending myself. And the cop is kind of like dismissing Buffy as like, dude, you're a piece of shit. You just killed a guy.
Yeah, this scene has a lot of like, I could see this one triggering some people. Like,
yeah, it's like the cop doesn't believe in Buffy that Ted hit her,
but he also is like, oh, we're not pressing charges. We're gonna go with your story. It's a lot of like, yeah, it has this weird vibe of like whose side. Like I thought the cop was on Ted's side or working with Ted or something because it was some weird vibe going on. And I know we always talk about there not being any police in a town with all these murders. Full police station.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Fully functioning, like handling crimes all day, it seems like.
Yeah, there was a lady crying in the background of a scene at one point.
Probably lost one of another teenage kid.
Her high school student kid.
Are you here for the missing person at Sunnydale? No. My daughter killed some guy I was dating. Oh, okay, no, we got 7 missing persons reports coming up.
So yeah, they're not pressing charges. And then Buffy and her mom are driving home in silence because it's just awkward as shit. So Buffy goes to school the next day and she's a pariah. Everyone's looking at her. Everyone's talking about her, basically. Willow and Xander come up to talk to Buffy and be like, hey, what happened? Like, we trust you. Like, what happened? And Buffy's like, I killed him. Like, he hit me and I am the Slayer and I used my Slayer strength because I just didn't like the guy and I killed the guy. And so she is like traumatized.
Yeah, I like that Xander goes like, so what? Yeah, Xander's like, what was he? And she was like,
yeah.
Just like,
well, was he a demon, a plant person, a bug?
Yeah. She's like, no, he's just a person.
Just a guy.
And I was like, oof. And I wanted to bring up this when she's walking into the school and everyone's looking at her like a pariah and like, oh my God, that's the girl that killed her mom's boyfriend, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just saw her fight a cop who was opening fire in the hallway last episode, right? There's no looking at her like, oh my God, what did she do? Like, there was a cop shooting in the hallway and she was drop kicking it with some girl from a different country that you guys haven't seen before. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they can't just look at it. Buffy's shocked.
Well, also, my question about this scene was like, how quickly does word travel?
Yeah.
That, like, Buffy killed somebody, you know?
Yeah. This seems like it got there really quick for something that happened the night before. Like,
yeah, and it's the whole school and the teachers.
The paper? Was it in the paper or something? I mean, I guess the cops are there asking, but, like, people didn't even know about the dude.
Was it over the weekend? Maybe it was like Friday to Monday.
Yeah. But people didn't even know about the dude that Giles' friend who died on campus.
Oh yeah. That's true.
Like, people didn't freak out about Giles being like having cops talk to him that day. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up. A minor nitpick, but I was like, come on, guys.
Yeah. But Buffy's feeling mad guilty, and she doesn't really want to talk to Willow and Xander about it. And Xander and Willow are like, we're on Team Buffy. Like, this guy, there must have been something up with this guy. You wouldn't just, like, kill a guy. And Buffy's like, nah, apparently I would.
If they were dating my mom, yeah. Like, she's like, yeah, that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to date your mom, Buffy, and if I'm Xander. So I'm like, we're good.
Yeah.
I still want you around.
So Giles eventually finds her, and he's like, hey, are you all right? Maybe you should take some time off the slaying. And it's like, okay. Yeah, that goes without saying.
Or dive deeper into it.
Yeah. But then he reveals that, the cops are at the school asking teachers about Buffy. And that's kind of like what's going on at the school at that point.
One thing I thought about was like, if the cops were doing their due diligence, wouldn't they have checked that diary and checked her room and found all that vampire slaying stuff?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would be like, oh my God, he took my textbook because he's a nerd. Like something else, because I don't know.
So then the gang minus Buffy is in the library, and Xander's ranting. He's like, dude, something's up. That guy had to have been a piece of shit. Willow, you need to find out something about this guy. We need to dig up, like, did he have any domestic violence records? Because I don't believe that Buffy would just kill a guy. And then Cordelia says something like, well, you were all about this guy yesterday. You loved his cookies and you loved him like yesterday. And then Xander goes, sometimes I like things that are bad for me.
Yeah, I love that. Now that is some subtext.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And then, so Willow's researching it. Giles is putting his weapons into a duffel bag because if the cops are there, and the crossbow doesn't fit in the duffel bag at all.
The duffel bag at all.
And you can see, now this isn't Giles. This is Anthony Stewart Head or whatever. Yeah. Anthony Head. And he's having a hard time, but he's just like, keep trying to. He's so distracted trying to put this crossbow in there.
It's like those scenes that you give actors and they have to keep doing something with their hands. It's like, hey, you're just in this scene, you're just going back and forth and you're loading weapons into this duffel bag. And the first thing he brings out is a crossbow that obviously doesn't fit. I was like, it doesn't collapse or anything. And it's just sticking out. And he's like, all right, I guess I'm done with that. Let's go get the axe. And I'm watching him do this too. And I'm thinking, you don't have to go out tonight, Giles.
Oh yeah, he does.
Like, what happens if you don't go out and one vampire survives? Like,
well, I don't know what happens next, but he's saying something about like we gotta hide these from the cops or something, and then Cordelia says something like, "Oh, because the cops are gonna be suspicious of you too because of that demon that you killed or something."
Does he say? Well, before we get to that, there's something about like they're like, so what? Buffy killed someone. Shouldn't there be different rules for like her since she's a slayer? And then Willow's like, oh, you just want there to be a whole separate thing,
like fascism.
And she's like, yeah, let's bring back fascism. So Cordelia's pro-fascism.
Okay, this is what I just remembered what Giles said. Giles said something like, we can't understand what Buffy's going through. Like, she just killed a man, so she's got to be traumatized. And then Cordelia's like, oh, kind of like how you killed a guy when you brought that demon to life. And then Giles is like, I would much prefer if you didn't bring that up all the time, but yes.
I was loving that Cordelia was just like throwing out shots and saying, like, her lines in this scene are just great.
Just zingers.
And she calls out Giles. I thought he was going to have a breakdown.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's taking the weapons to hide from the cops. He's going out to do the demon hunting.
Yeah. Yeah. Giles has volunteered himself as the slayer.
And they're like, you shouldn't go. And he's like, someone has to. And I'm just like, no, you don't. Like, there's really no reason for you to go out.
Yeah, you give Buffy nights off all the time.
Yeah. And it opened up a little window. Do other watchers hunt vampires too?
Yeah, I don't know. And you'd think that, like, Giles would be good at it, at least, like, at some
he was better
kind of
last
physical...
episode. Yeah.
Yeah, like, some kind of physical altercations and killings, like... you would think that if he's training Buffy, he has to be adept at something. But he's just a bumbling asshole in some scenes, and then he's the Ripper and all this other, like, he's choking Ethan Rayne, and he killed a vampire in the last episode.
Yeah. He was holding his own last episode. He was like wrecking shop in that church.
Yeah. So I don't know, man.
It's like, just at least have like a cross around your neck or something. Like, it shouldn't be that easy. But
then Xander starts talking about, like, you know, Ted, I don't trust him. I don't like him, but at least his cookies are good. We got to make sure that we save that cookie recipe. And he takes a bite of a cookie, and then Willow grabs it from him, and she's like, something's up with this cookie.
Yeah.
There's got to be something going on with this cookie.
It's because Xander's being super nice.
Oh, right.
Xander's being,
because he was being aggressive, and then he became nice.
Yeah, he was aggressive, and he's eating a cookie, and he's like, oh, yeah, I just like, you know, peaceful. I forget what exactly he's saying, but he becomes nice, and Willow's like, that's not my Xander. Yeah.
So then we cut to Buffy and her mom, and it's awkward, and Buffy's trying to help her mom and explain what happened with Ted, and the mom's like, Buffy, just give me some space. You killed my boyfriend. Go to your room.
I watched you kill a man like a day ago, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that's rough.
And you burned down your school gymnasium. This murder's going on your permanent record, Buffy.
Yeah. Like, this is a interesting self-defense thing. And apparently this guy has no family or next of kin.
Yeah.
You know, because otherwise you'd be like, someone's going to be like, hey, what happened to our Uncle Ted or whatever?
Yeah, nope. So then we go back to Willow, who's examining the cookie, and she finds out it has tranquilizers in it and some, like, traces of ecstasy. And so that would explain why Xander's been so happy and addicted to the cookies. And it also would explain why all of the food that he made before for Joyce, Buffy's mom, and why she's so in love with him. Yeah. And why everyone was so smitten with Ted. And it's also Buffy never ate any of his food.
Yeah.
So it's why she was always suspicious of Ted. Yeah. Nice little detail there.
Yeah. It's like she won't eat the food. She's not eating the pizza, the cookies, and like he's keeping them drugged up and submissive with this stuff.
And so then Cordelia comes in, and Cordelia's apparently been doing some research. She finds a bunch of files on Ted, and he's been married a bunch of times. He got married in 1957. And so Willow's suspicious, like, he must have gotten married real young if that's the case. Mm-hmm. So that raises even more suspicion. And so they get an address, and they're like, all right, well, we got to go to his address. So let's go. We got to investigate. So then we see Giles out on patrol with his duffel bag of weapons, and he's walking around. He's so terrified of everything. And then Jenny Calendar sneaks up on him from behind, and he's about to kill her. Like, why would you do that? Yeah. But she comes to apologize and be like, I'm sorry, I was really harsh on you the other day. And he's like, okay. And then right as she apologizes, a vampire comes up from behind her.
Yeah, she was like, I just didn't want to be put in danger anymore, and I was afraid, and I shouldn't have done this, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, I wanted to follow you to a dark park and decide to have this conversation here.
Right.
Knowing what I know about Sunnydale.
No, yeah. And seeing Giles with, like, weapons and, like, a cross walking through a graveyard.
Yeah. And then there's a vampire that's just like, hey, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a vampire jumps out.
Wait, here's again my question. Are there people walking through these parks for vampires to actually eat? Because the only time we see like a slayer and a vampire. But, like, why would a vampire hunt there? Like, it doesn't seem like a good spot to find people late at night, like, at a local park.
Yeah, I mean, nobody goes to parks at night or graveyards at night.
Yeah.
Like, you do that during the day.
Yeah.
I mean, their best idea is going to the Bronx.
Is it just honest. Like dumb teens hooking up in graveyards and parks?
I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've only been to. I went to Central Park at night once and got so lost, and it was the most terrifying experience of my life.
That park is a nightmare at night.
And
Like,
it's a nightmare and it's a labyrinth. Like we were just, it was me and my buddy at Tiff. We were just lost for hours. And by the time we came out, we were on the complete opposite end of the park where we needed to be. And I was so scared. There's all kinds of crazy people. And so, yeah, don't go walking around parks at night, people.
yeah.
Anyway.
Public service announcement.
Yeah, a PSA for you from the boys. So Buffy's in her room and she's like, you know what? There's got to be some vampires to kill. I'm going to go out. I'm going to sneak out. And she goes to her window and her window has been nailed shut. And she's like, nailed shut? Are you serious? That's so annoying. And then Ted sneaks up from behind her. And, she says something like, can this night get any worse? Ted sneaks up from behind her and he goes, it's about to, or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, Ted.
And like Ted's back, and I'm like, in all caps, I wrote Ted is alive in my notes. But I also wanted him to still be dead.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I'll dive into it maybe after the episode and talk about what my overall thoughts was. But yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then he attacks Buffy. Just knocks her down.
You can't keep a good salesman down or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So then the vampire in the graveyard is attacking Giles. Giles has a cross and he's like barely holding off the vampire. And he screams to Miss Calendar. He's like, in my duffel bag, there's weapons. So she picks up the crossbow. And as soon as she did, I was like, Giles is getting shot.
Yeah.
Giles definitely getting shot. This is payback now. You know?
I was just like, there's so many other things in there. There's the axe, but they got the crossbow. And it seems like she should be able to do it. And the timing's done really well on her accidentally shooting Giles in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like she gets the crossbow out and she says some line like, I've been waiting my whole life for this or something like that.
Does she?
And she says some kind of line like, oh, somebody's going to die tonight.
She got over her trauma real quick.
Oh, yeah, she did. So she picks up the crossbow and Giles and the vampire are tussling and they're switching places and it's hard to tell who's who.
Yeah.
So she just shoots and it shoots Giles right in the ass.
It's like lower back or something. But yeah, it's close enough. It might as well be his ass.
Yeah.
How strong are these vampires, man?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
We have no idea how strong anybody is in this series.
Giles is a big guy, though. I guess he could hold off a vampire.
Yeah, so after that, we go back to Ted beating Buffy up and knocking her out. And then we go back to the vampire.
Does Ted, this is before he knocks her out, he cuts his arm. He's choking her. He's choking her, right?
No, he's still beating her up. Then we go back to Miss
Let's
Calendar.
just break down these scenes separately because it's going to get too confusing going back and forth.
There's a lot of cutting back and forth.
It's a lot of cross-cutting between the vampire fight in the park, Buffy and fighting Ted. And then there's also probably a little bit of cutting between the mystery team.
The mystery team's after this. So, okay, let's do this. So Miss Calendar shoots Giles in the ass. She's like, I'm sorry. Giles cracks it out of his ass, stabs the vampire, and then they have a good laugh about it.
The vampire was pretty chill. He was like, haha, you shot him. He's like, stoner vampire.
The vampire was like roasting Miss Calendar. He's like, ooh, you idiot, way to go. Yeah. Wait till you shot your buddy.
Yeah. It's like, I'm like, let's let this vampire live. Let's let this guy can hang out with us.
Yeah, and he just has Giles. Like, he could have eaten Giles like so quickly, but he wanted to take a time to like roast Miss Calendar. So then Giles digs it out of his ass, stabs the vampire, he dies, and then Miss Calendar and Giles kind of have a chuckle about it.
Yeah, he's like, Buffy, oh, that's so much tweed. That's why I didn't go through. I'm like, how strong is this crossbow?
Right.
This thing should have been lodged deep into you. But yeah.
So Buffy and Ted are fighting. He's got salesman quips. And then he's choking Buffy up against her bureau or whatever. Mm-hmm. Her curio cabinet. I don't know. And then he's just choking her. And she's like reaching for a nail file or a knife or something for what seems like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And Ted does nothing to stop her, but she grabs it, stabs Ted in the arm, and then this is the big reveal. Ted's a robot.
A machine.
He is a machine.
So people in this show end up with insect people and end up with robot boyfriends. Like,
and vampires.
But Willow has had a robot demon boyfriend.
Yep.
Buffy's mom has now had a robot boyfriend.
Yep.
Who she apparently probably had sex with at some point.
Oh yeah, he's a machine.
Which opens a whole can of worms. Not the sex part, but him being a machine just opens up a whole lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But like his arm gets cut and it's like the Terminator,
like
and you can see like inside the wiring, and Buffy sees it and goes wide-eyed. I love when she sees stuff and does the wide-eyed.
Oh yeah.
Sarah Michelle Gellar's really good at that, where she's like, "What?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then now Ted's like, "Well, you found out my secret," and he starts malfunctioning, kind of, and saying things that he said earlier in the episode, or I guess in his past life. Yeah. And he's like, freaking out at the neck and.
I love it. I love that he said, I had to shut down when you, like, he kind of like villain monologue that like, oh, when you were fighting me, I had to shut down. And you should have seen the look on the face when I came back with the coroner or something. And it was just like, your idea was getting beat up was to completely shut down your functions and pretend to be dead. Like, all right.
That's a bad idea, bro. So then we have the Scooby Gang investigating Ted's place.
After he knocks her out, right?
Yeah, this is when he knocks her out like cold. He knocks her out for good.
He's like, the plot's gotten to the point where I can just knock you out one punch.
Yeah. So he knocks her out. He leaves. Scooby Gang's at Ted's quote unquote address. They break in. It looks like some kind of weird lab. And they're like, doesn't look like anyone's lived here since like the 50s. And Cordelia makes mention of some rug that doesn't go with the rest of the room. Yeah. And Xander's like, oh, that means that something suspicious is under the rug. And he removes the rug. There's some kind of basement attic thing. Opens that up.
This is actually what I had wanted to see when Cordelia joined the team. I wanted her to be part of them solving like her little weird skill set comes in handy here. Like she knows like decor and fashion and layout. And it's like every piece of them, like Xander's addiction to the cookies and like his stuff triggers Willow to search for the cookies to find the thing. And then Cordelia finds this, and like everybody's working together and using their like weird personality and skill sets. And that's what I thought we would get in the first season, I think, when she first joined the team.
Yeah, well, it's also like in the first episode of the show, they make mention about vampires have bad fashion. So Cordelia could have been perfect for that.
That's what I'm saying. Cordelia would have been stabbing unfashionable people, just assuming they're vampires. She looks up and it's like a 70s night and she's like, oh shit.
She just comes in with a flamethrower. Just genocide some people.
She looks up and sees the banners like 70s night. She's like, ooh.
Ooh, does that like Homer Simpson back out into the bushes? So then we go back to Buffy's house and Ted is snuck up on Buffy's mom. And she's like, Ted, are you alive? What's going on? Is it really you? And he's like, yep, it's really me. I was only dead for 6 minutes. Bullshit.
Like he died for 6 minutes and then automatically came back to being unconscious for the rest of the time.
Well, he's like, if I would have been dead any longer, I would have had brain damage. But I was dead for 6 minutes. It's like, dude, it would have taken way more than 6 minutes for the cops to show up to her house. Get out of here. But Buffy's mom just believes him because he could
have just pretended to be dead because he probably doesn't have a pulse because he's a robot.
Exactly. I mean, he definitely doesn't have a pulse because he's a robot. But yeah, then he's like, no one's ever going to take you from me. You're going to be my wife. We're going to be happy. We're going to be so happy and all this shit.
Is this where he says daddy's here?
Yes.
Oh, God, it was so creepy.
Yeah, I hated that. And he's hugging her and it's so
and he's
gross.
like half staring into the camera with that look.
Oh, yeah. Well, also, did you notice that John Ritter has like a weird eye?
No.
One of his pupils is weird.
What do you mean? Like he has like a brown? Like he has like what is it? Where you have a different color eye?
No. One of his pupils is like long. Like it's not a circle.
Oh, I did not.
Or there's some kind of something going on.
I did not watch this in 4K.
Yeah, quite a turnaround, huh, Vance, from our Boys Watching Girls days.
Yeah. When
I was watching things in 480p.
Cheap bastard.
That's an inside joke for our previous podcast listeners, Boys Watching Girls. But yes, then we go back to the Scooby Gang at Ted's basement, and there's like a 1950s theme going on there, and everything looks like it hasn't been updated for a very, very long time. And Cordelia makes mention of that. Mm-hmm. And then Xander goes into a closet and he opens it up, and there's dramatic, creepy violins happening. And then he closes the door and he goes, all right, let's go. We got the evidence we need. And they're like, what are you talking about? What evidence? What was in that closet? And he's like, his 4 dead ex-wives were in that closet. Let's go.
It's like the 4 ex-wives. I loved that moment so much. Instead of like showing what it is and having like the cheesy creep out, just the reaction on his face and him just immediately walking out of there.
Yeah, just closing it and be like, all right, let's go. We got
it. What's in the closet? His ex-wives? And they're like, let's go. Like, He doesn't want them to see, he doesn't want Willow and them to see it. He's not like, hey guys, check this out. Like, it's just pure horror and trauma. Like, it's great. Perfectly well done.
So then we go back to Buffy's house, and now Ted's getting real aggressive with Buffy's mom, and he's like, you're not going anywhere. I got everything back at my place. I got clothes your size. Let's go on a trip. Let's leave this place. Let's leave this house. And her mom's like, I mean, I got to get some stuff. What about Buffy? He's like, but don't worry about Buffy. And then he's like grabbing her, and like she's like, let go of me, dude. Like, this is getting weird. Let me get some stuff. And he's like, no. And he gets super aggressive with her, and he starts spazzing out like a robot. Mm-hmm. And she's like, this is fucked up. And then he ultimately punches her, knocks her out.
He like shoves her against the wall, and she has like one of those Giles knockouts that he used to have, where he just like, you could like kick him in the leg and he'd pass out.
Yeah. Buffy wakes up now, and she comes downstairs.
But can I say, when Buffy wakes up, she gets up and then she just kicks her door open. Yeah. Like the lock and the doorknob and everything just blows out.
Yeah. It's like she shot a shotgun at it.
Yeah. And my thought was, why?
I don't know.
Like, why did she do that? Like, it's her room. She could just open the door. It was like,
maybe he locked it from the outside or something?
It just seemed like overly dramatic for like what it was, but it's fine.
Yeah. So she comes downstairs and she's looking around for Ted, and Ted's snooping around. He's like, Buffy, I know you're here. You better come here and you better act right. And you better obey the rules. And Buffy sneaks up from behind him and just whacks him in the face with a huge frying pan.
Yeah, she hits him with the cast iron that he was using to make his mini pizzas.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever had a cast iron, those things are heavy.
Oh, yeah, they weigh so much.
Yeah.
And then Ted's face is revealed, and it's a robot face. And then
it's amazing.
She hits him
it's
again.
Amazing. It's amazing looking. I thought this
was
really
good.
It was an actual, like practical effect. Like half of his face is like ripped off, and his mouth is like split. He's like kind of like a Two-Face look. It was really well done. Really well done. Yeah.
And I think she hits him one more time, and then he's out of commission.
Yep.
Then the next day, Buffy and her mom are bonding over how much Ted sucks, and they don't like men, and
and the mom's worried that he's going to come back.
Yeah. She's been traumatized too.
Yeah, but she doesn't think that he's dead or gone.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks that he's still out there somewhere. And Buffy's like, don't worry, he won't be coming back. She's like, I don't know, I'm just worried. And she's like, he's on the trash heap, you know?
Yeah. Buffy like had a bunch of robot type zingers. Don't worry about him. He's been shut down.
He's out of commission. He's on the
Arrow 404. Ted's not found.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Mom. You have to dig deeper into that. Like, what happened? He knocked me out and then just left. Like,
yeah.
Look, you really have to like dive deeper into. Oh no, that's fine. He just ran away. like I'm sorry. If I'm the mom, I'm sitting Buffy down. I'm like, tell me everything. Like detail, minutes, explain. And the body's gone too. So I don't know what the cops think happened.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
I don't know. It just seemed. I get it. You got to get out of the episode. We've had a good one. You got to end things, but it's so many more questions.
Yeah, and
because later they kind of talk. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So then the next day at school, Buffy and Xander and Willow are talking about, hey man, Ted must have been a really smart guy because he built all of these robot bodies, and like the real Ted died, and I guess he put his consciousness into a robot body, and he kept marrying women and bringing them back to be his wife or something. And I was like, Jesus, this is dark. That was a dark, like one sentence explanation of what Ted is.
Yeah, and the cops found all of his ex-wives down there, and I guess they're still looking for him. And it's like, okay, so I guess the cops are off the case, are going to just be looking for this.
Yeah.
This person who died a long time ago. I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, they just kind of run through. Like, Xander just gives a full layout of how weird this guy was.
Yeah. And then Buffy's like, well, I guess we better go tell Giles about it. And then she walks to the library and she's like, oh my God, this again. Why doesn't anybody ever lock the door? Or I don't know. And we cut to seeing Giles and Miss Calendar making out hardcore.
Yeah.
And that is the episode.
Well, I want to say in the last scene, Willow also mentions that she kept a piece of Ted. Yeah. And she's like, oh my God, he must have been super smart. And I was thinking about this. There are some geniuses in Sunnydale. Like the kids that bring people back to life, the scientists that built the robot for the demon. Like there are some really smart people like in this town, man. Like
it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
For such a small town, for one Starbucks town.
Yeah. Now, the point I was going to bring up, that's an overall thought for the episode, is I really wished that he was just a regular person the whole time. Because when I was watching it, I was like, this is great. Because now it's just Buffy dealing with a creepster guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not the demon. And I get it, it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You got to bring in some type of element of something that's out of the norm. But it was just so emotionally deep when it was just a regular person and the person being a bad guy.
Like she's having to deal with the guilt of killing a real, just regular human.
Yeah. If they were to just like keep him as a regular human, he doesn't come back and then find out about him drugging and the ex-wives, and that was what cleared her, I'd still be down with this episode.
Yeah. But when he became a robot, I was kind of like, we already did robots, you know?
It's like we did robots, and it doesn't have the meat of just like, it doesn't feel like, hey, I don't know. It's one of my things where people not believing you when you tell them something is like one of my like big fears of stuff, like for major things. And like for her to be like, this guy is abusive and a problem, and the mom not seeing it and her friends not seeing it, and Buffy just having like trauma from that, and then it exploding into murdering the guy. I don't know. That was just so good. And it was just like, you couldn't come. There was no way to go up from that for me.
Yeah.
When it happens in the middle of the episode.
The way that you would want it would have been a way more nuanced and challenging thing to deal with.
I mean, they did it the first half. I mean, you would just extend that for 10 more minutes, and then you would find the bodies and exonerate her in the last 10. But that's not the show. The show is Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
The show is robots and demons and plant people and bugs and hyena spells. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, so I can't knock it for being what it is.
the way that you would want it would kind of be reminiscent of like a Girls episode, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Just like dealing with heavy trauma and how to move forward.
But with Buffy also kicking his ass.
Well, it would have been a good character development point too, of like, she now has this darkness to her of, this is my power and I need to use it responsibly and blah, blah, blah.
No, I think if she would have killed that guy and he wasn't like, I think her killing the guy and you definitely do he's a serial killer murderer thing at the end just to kind of lift the burden off of Buffy a little bit. So it's not like she just murdered some guy that's kind of a jerk, you know? Like you definitely need that because otherwise it gets way too heavy, way too soon for this show, you know? But
point of note that I would like to bring up, I did just Google John Ritter eyes, and his right eye, there's something fucked up about it. Like his pupil isn't in the normal spot, or he doesn't have a pupil in the center of his eye. Maybe he's blind in one eye or something.
What does the thing say that you're reading?
I just looked at the images.
Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like there would be like a blurb or something that would mention.
Okay, John Ritter has a birth defect known as coloboma in his right eye. So there you go, coloboma.
What is coloboma? You dove us down this road, so we're gonna get the answers.
Coloboma is a defect in the iris of the eye. It can appear as a black notch of varying depth at the edge of the pupil, giving the pupil an irregular shape. Coloboma may be associated with hereditary conditions, trauma to the eye, or eye surgery. So yeah, it just makes your pupil look very odd.
And this has been the medical segment.
Learn something new, Vance. We're learning something. We're teaching.
We have a PSAs and
we're teaching. Yeah. We're PSAs. Don't go walking around parks at night. Yep. We learn about coloboma. Yeah, that's the episode for Ted. Any last thoughts?
No, I mean, it was, that middle. I mean, nothing beats that surprise of him actually being dead. I was just where's this going to go?
Nothing beat the surprise to me of, I've been waiting for you to do that.
That seems so good.
Been waiting all day.
And John Ritter was great as a creepy person. It looked like he was just showing his acting chops, you know, because I'm sure he didn't get a chance to do this much.
You know, I feel like comedic actors and comedians are very good at being creepy people in shows and movies and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they just are so, Robin Williams could do anything, but they can tap into that creepiness energy better than I think any other kind of actors. Like John Ritter killed it in this.
Yeah. And John Ritter's only in this because he's the person you wouldn't assume.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it helps to be like casting out of type.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to our episode on Ted, everybody. Follow us, Boys Watching Buffy, on Instagram. Email in boyswatchingbuffy@gmail.com. And subscribe, rate, and review, all that jazz. And stay tuned for our next episode. Here comes our predictions. This next episode is titled Bad Eggs, Vance. What do you got?
I'm going to just go with killer chicken people. Like, I'm just going to go with that. Yeah.
I was going to say something similar.
Yeah.
I was like, there's got to be somebody like gets a chicken farm.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's going to be something fucked up with chickens.
Yeah. I just want to go with that. I could go what it kind of is implying, but no.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll have to see if that prediction's right in our next episode. So
I hope it's right.
I hope to God that there's killer chicken people in this next episode. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Do you want me to slap that smart-ass mouth of yours?
Tune into the Salsa Kings Network. Crack one open if you dare, creeps.